Good evening, everybody, and I would like to welcome you to the Tuesday, April 7th regular council meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we do have all council members in attendance this evening. We acknowledge that this land is a traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of First Nations, comprised of the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi people, and of the Huron-Wendat peoples. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and of all the original peoples of Turtle Island who have been living and working on the land from time immemorial. Please stand for our national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command.
Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits.
God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
We'll go to Director Malandrucolo for our two closed meeting reports.
Thank you, Mayor Bondi. Through you. On April 7, 2026 at 5 p.m., Council met and closed to receive a legal update, which included advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege and discuss litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. Council also met as a legal advisory committee on March 27, 2026 at 9:30 a.m. pursuant to Section 239 2F of the Municipal Act 2001 to receive advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, in order to discuss tribunal hearing related to 195, 197, and 199 Bryan Avenue. And that is the extent of my report.
Director Malandrucolo, any declarations of conflicts of interest this evening from members of council? Deputy Mayor Shepley.
Declare a conflict on item 19.3.3 and 19.3.3.1. I have a business that's very close and the only business down where this item is going to be discussed. And out of abundance of caution, I'm going to declare conflict on this one.
Deputy Mayor Shepley for letting us know. Any other declarations of conflicts of interest this evening? If you do find yourself in conflict later, please let us know. Looking for a mover and a seconder that we adopt the regular council meeting agenda, and I will let the balance of council know. I do have a notice of motion that I will be also presenting tonight. So it is amended, and the notice of motion is regarding Lakeshore Dog Pound. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Verbeek. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Looking for the mover and a seconder for the adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting for March 16th. Moved by Councillor Allard, supported by Councillor Mady. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Looking for a mover and a seconder for the special council meeting minutes for July 21st. Moved by Councillor McGuire-Blaze, supported by Deputy Mayor Shepley. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Looking for a mover and a seconder for the special council meeting minutes for August 12th. Moved by Councillor Mady, supported by Councillor Allard. Any questions? All in favor? That is carried. Looking for a mover and a seconder Somebody had a busy weekend. No. Looking for a mover and a seconder for the special council meeting minutes for November 24th. Council McGuire Blaze, Deputy Mayor Shepley, any questions? All in favor? And that is carried. Looking for a mover and a seconder for the special council meeting minutes for February 9th. Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councilor Verbeek, any questions? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Whew, that was a good one. Moving on to public presentations, we have Mr. Rick Surrett of OPP Catch Crooks. Rick, are you here? Welcome. Come on. Please go back to the delegations and turn the mic on. And my apologies, Rick. I thought you were somebody else when you came here.
Okay.
So that's why you got that explanation in the hallway. Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our Board of Directors with Crime Stoppers has asked that I speak to various council members throughout the county. So I really appreciate you allow me to speak quickly with respect to just a little information session with respect to what Crime Stoppers delivers to the community. At the end of the day, you are the eyes and ears of your constituents, and we're looking to speak to you just so that you can get a brief overview of Crime Stoppers, then also any feedback afterwards in terms of how we can improve our program delivery. Next slide, please. So what is Crime Stoppers? We are a program that encourages individuals to move forward with respect to any leads that they may have with respect to crime. And the spirit of the program is based on anonymity, and then also you could get a cash reward in the event that it is a good tip. Next slide. So the program here locally has been in existence for 35 years. We have a board of directors, and we have a program manager who's a part-time employee that does a lot of our fundraisers, and we have 2 police coordinators. I am one. I've been with the provincial police for the past 28 years, and Jamie Fumerton with the Windsor Police as well. So what we do is we are the gatekeepers of the tips, and what we do is we get the tips that come in, and we ensure the anonymity of tipsters. So when they call, sometimes reporting crime can be very spirited and emotional, and sometimes they inadvertently disclose who they are. Well, we sanitize that information and we send it out to the various police agencies, and we don't even tell our colleagues who the tipsters are. So that's what our role is in a nutshell. Next slide. So the principle of Crime Stoppers, it's an anonymous-based program, and that just isn't Rick Surrett's policy. That is actually enacted by the Supreme Court of Canada in 1997. So that is the highest court in Canada that will uphold people's anonymity. So the other part is cash reward, but another incentive with respect to coming forward. I've been a police officer for 28 years, and I don't enjoy testifying. I understand the importance of it, but it's intimidating, and that's what I do for a living. So could you imagine the layperson who their neighbor comes home and their vehicle is sitting in the driveway and it's been heavily damaged, and we're looking for that vehicle that's involved in a fatal fail to remain? Well, the incentive is to come forward. A lot of people come, they don't even want the cash reward. They just come forward and they just want to do their civic duty. Next slide. So the history, it's half a century old. There was an officer that's from Albuquerque, New Mexico. He's actually from Picton, Ontario, but he did a reenactment with respect to an unsolved crime, and he aired it on television, and it was a university student that was stabbed. The case went dormant. He didn't get any leads, but he did that for promising anonymity and also a cash reward, and that case got solved. So that's how Crime Stoppers started. Next slide. So we are, we don't receive any government funding. So what we do is a lot of fundraisers throughout the community over the course of the year that are spearheaded by our board of directors and then also our program manager. Police Week at the Devonshire Mall, we have a Southern Footprints marathon run at the end of the month at Point Peely, and that's how we raise our money. So I'm just going to go through this quickly because I know there's limited time here. So what can you report crimes with respect to us? Just about everything that's in the criminal code. And even crimes that are about to occur. You can appreciate now with youth and social media, where they say there's going to be a fight at the Essex High School on Friday. Well, somebody will send us a tip and we'll disseminate officers ahead of time, and perhaps they'll dialogue with the teachers to prevent that as well. And then also a good information tip that will pay out, and that's usually in the drug subculture where people will provide information with respect to who the drug dealers are, how their homes are fortified, what they're dealing, their debt list, who their clients are. So that's good information that will allow officers to do some legwork and potentially get a search warrant. Next slide. So 3 ways to contact us. You can call us every day, even Christmas Day. There's always somebody that's going to be answering the phone. But the 2 other ways are online at or also with an app called p3tips.com. Next slide. The advantages of the notifying us online is that we can receive images, screen captures of social media, or even Ring doorbells. The issue with respect to Ring doorbell, again, my role is to sanitize that getaway vehicle, and at the bottom is just to take the homes away, because from that vantage point, people may be able to know where that tip's coming from in terms of what house it is. Next slide. So why do crimes go unreported? Sometimes, like, our website is catch crooks, and on occasion, it could be also help crooks, because there's a plea that goes out to the media and is shoplifter or a theft, and it's the mother that calls who's frustrated with their son or their loved one that just simply needs to get help with respect to an addiction. So if the tip comes forward, we identify who it is, it goes before the courts. Defense lawyers are officers of the court, and they may see that as an addiction issue, and they'll navigate through the court system, and hopefully that person gets help. Next slide.
I'm just going to seek a motion from council to extend. Councilor Verbeek, Councilor Allard, all in favor. That's carried. Continue.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be really quick with this. Next slide. So what generally generates tips locally? Next slide. So you can see here from our media partners or social media, you have a Crime Stoppers program in, let's say, Peel, for example, large area. I think they only have about 17,000 followers. Here locally, we're almost at 10,000. So when we did, that's the WFCU Center during the Spitz game, packed to the rafters. So people share those posts. The image in the middle, the gentleman, that was a robbery, and there's no image of his face. It's just a jacket. Well, that suspect lives in an apartment building. That's going to stand out. So the most innocuous tip sometimes leads to a successful a crime getting solved successfully. Next slide. So here, this is one here was, because it's Crime Stoppers, we're not supposed to speak specifically about cases, but I did vet out a case. This was one here locally, and your constituents in this area they really do their civic duty. And I was sitting in the office with my program manager, and I thought, here's a hardworking teenager that picks up an extra shift at a local restaurant. He wasn't supposed to work that night, and gets his e-bike stolen. Works hard for it. And I said to the program manager, we're going to fan this out before the provincial police put their press release out. And within 2 hours, not only did we get a tip, identify this person, the suspect was a displaced person. No roots to this area. He was going to sit here and probably experience with drugs a little bit and move on to the next community where he was going to victimize more people. So that tip successfully identified that person. There was a second tip that disclosed where that person was. So the officer who parked nearby the residence where he was couch surfing, simply doing all his paperwork, catching up on his computer on the MPS, and monitoring traffic at the same time. Talk about multitasking, but there the gentleman comes out, arrests him. But unfortunately, we never recovered the e-bike. Now, this is where I want to speak to you in terms of areas that we can improve, because to receive a cash reward, we also like to recover stolen property. Next slide. So this one here, it was a little annoying in terms of our role and how we kind of dropped the ball on this. This is a Cypress Systems Greenway trail that was stolen. If somebody steals that sign, there's somebody in somebody in the community that ways they probably fenced it for some because it's steel, or they used it somewhere else. And we never solved this, and we never recovered the gate. But I think we didn't strike when the iron was hot. There's too much of a delay when we sent that information out. But that's information that we can let your constituents know, is that we can pay out people that know where stolen property is as well. So next slide. Next slide. So how does a tip work? Oh, no, before that. So tipster calls, submits a tip online. We provide them a tip number, and then we vet the information, and then we analyze our records management system to see what crime they're speaking of. And we send it to the specific investigator, whether it's the drug unit, a victim unit, or even patrol. And what we ask the tipsters to do is call us back in 4 to 6 weeks to allow investigators some time to go through the investigation and see if there's any value. So we have the tipsters call us back in 4 to 6 weeks, and we tell them whether the board of directors who approve the rewards, we present them to them once a month. And an algorithm, or not an algorithm, a metric system on our database will give a suggestion with respect to what that reward should be. But the board of directors just decide what that monetary amount will turn out to be. And then the bank gives out the tipster the reward. We just provide them an ID number with a code, and they go to the bank that we disclose to them to go to get that reward. Next slide. So how does a tip qualify reward? An arrest, charges, seizure of illegal drugs, and like I spoke to earlier with respect to the good information. Next slide. So the one that we do not accept, it's obviously, it's a common sense one, is if it's the crime that's happening, people will call us and they'll say, oh my goodness, my neighbor across the street, he's impaired, he's about to get in the truck and school's about to get out. Well, we navigate through that, ensure that they call 911 right away, or we'll call on their behalf. But also if you're a victim of a crime. We just don't simply hang up on those tipsters. We explain to them that the provincial police has a very victim-oriented approach with respect to some specialists that we have dealing with victims and providing them all the resources that they need to inform them in terms of what's next in a general way if they move forward with respect to what they want to report. Next slide. So our 2025 statistics, there's over 1,800 tips. That was a 16% increase from last year. And this year, so far from January 1st, there's an uptick of about probably 7% more. The arrests were 71, cases cleared 140, the charges were 160, $76,000 in property that was recovered, and that's not vehicles. That could be family heirlooms, jewelry. The drug seized is $750,000, and there's 6 weapons seized. Next slide. And that's my name to the right, Rick. Is Jamie Fumerton. I know I went through that very quickly because I thought, okay, there's a 5-minute time frame here, and the French Canadian in me, I spoke awfully quickly, so I hope I didn't confuse things too much. But I'm open to any questions that you may have. I know, Your Worship, we appreciate the leadership that you provide through our management team. We do hear the feedback that we get, especially with the traffic concerns that we have in the community. So I think this is a great opportunity to us to speak with respect to what another aspect of crime, which is Crime Stoppers. Any questions?
We should have partnered with you when we had our equipment at our splash pad in Poland. Any questions from members of council? Councilor McGuire, please.
Thank you through the chair. It's not so much a question, just more of a statement. When I was younger, back in the day, I do remember seeing a lot more posters from Crime Stoppers, and I'm not sure if it was just because it was new to the area. But I found there to be more marketing. And as an adult with children of my own who are teenagers, I really don't see any marketing for Crime Stoppers at all. And I forgot that it was even a thing. So I'm wondering if maybe more efforts into marketing. I remember there being signs in store windows, signs in the grocery store, the mini mart, just things like that. And I don't see that anymore. And I don't know what's in the high schools because I do remember seeing the signs in the high schools as well. And to be honest, I see more don't smoke while pregnant signs now than I do about Crime Stoppers. So I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity there to maybe get back into the local communities and reach out to even the local BIAs and seeing if they can put signs in stores or things like that. So thanks for everything you do though.
But that's an accurate assessment. There was a board of directors meeting probably 6 months ago where we discussed that exact. A lot of our signs are run down. A lot of the signs now where it's 2026, you can have the QR code where you can scan it right away and you're in the park and you see somebody leaving with something stolen. It'll go straight to our website and you can leave the information on and send it away. So the marketing, we do a lot on our social media. We do speaking engagements in the high schools, but we have agreed that a lot of our signage has been neglected. We did erect a whole bunch of signs through the marinas throughout the county. There's another delegation that we spoke to last month where they approved we could put signage in parks in concert with the provincial police, where there's the message from that municipality, the provincial police, and then also Crime Stoppers as well, and what to do to call, who do you call if there's a crime happening. So we have identified the need, but at the end of the day, we're a charity and we're looking for additional resources and networking with our community partners to see if we can't make improvements with respect to our signage in the community, but that is an accurate assessment.
Thank you. I'm wondering if, not to put our town administration on the spot, but I'm wondering if we did something similar with MAD and we put some MAD signs out. I think we even had something specific with MAD in our gateway signs. So I'm wondering if we can work together, it would be our cost, but when we can afford to,
right?
If we can, what you're doing is making our community safe. So we want to support you as well. Our community partnership grant for the year is all allocated, so there's not an avenue there. But I'm thinking like we did with our inclusive signs, our MAD signs, if we could get some of these in the docket in our gateway signs. Director Morissette, can you let us know if there's a budget for that or if that's something we could do?
Yes, Mayor Ronnie, I do have a budget for that, so I can take.
Yeah, that would be a good idea to get that on there. And also if we could share, cross promote a little bit, put it in our social media to get it out there. I'm just now looking at our website where it has information on the police. Maybe we could put it there.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments from members of council? Councilor McGuire, please.
That's all great ideas. I would also, I'm the counselor for our local BIA, and I know probably the Harrow Chamber would appreciate it as well. If you had something that we could share with our businesses that they could print in their store, or the BIA or the chamber could print some, and we could have posted for, you know, that QR code that's really quick. Most of the time, crime is happening in our downtown areas, and so having just even one or two extra, you know, posters, so people recognize you and know that you're a thing and have that top of mind, is important. So even if you wanted to forward that to our administration, they could forward it on to the BIAs, the chamber, and we can release it to our network.
Absolutely. And there's also another layer to that as well. If there's signage, is that there's an overall deterrence with our clients, the people who want to steal, who commit crimes. And they say a very passionate downtown area where, you know, this community is very much engaged with our program and with the police and whatnot. But even having the signage out there, we do have the stickers that businesses can put in their windows and things like that. They don't have the QR code because that's still in its infancy. We're working on that. But if any of this gains any traction, you can always reach out to us. There is never, ever a silly question or anything like that. And if we can really go out there and canvass, we have a large group of volunteers, including my colleague, that we can go out and provide that to the businesses, even if it's a sticker that says Crime Stoppers with our information. And then once we do get the QR code, we can add that as well down the road.
At this time, I will seek a motion that the delegate by Rick Surratt on behalf of OPP Catch Crooks be received for information, and that council direct administration to work on gateway signage, website, social media, and that Rick will work with administration and the BIA and the chamber to provide information. Moved by Councilor McGuire Blaze, supported by Councilor Verbeek. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you for coming.
No, thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Moving on to reports from administration. We have our Fire and Rescue Services construction of Fire Station 3. And Chief Pilon is here tonight. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor Bondi, and through the chair. Just a little background on this report. In 2024, council gave approval to start consultation on a new Station 3. 2025, we went forward with that consultation and determined that the best possible location for this is at the Harrow Soccer Complex on Roseboro Road. Earlier this year, an RFT was issued. The RFT closed in March. We got 19 submissions. 17 of those submissions met the requirements out of the RFT, and which were valid. So based on the pricing provided in the submissions, it's recommended that the lowest tender submitted by Gulf Developments be accepted as a purchase order issued for the project, and they were within the budget.
Before I go to council, can you please just let us know if this is awarded tonight, what kind of timeline we're looking at, please?
At the through the chair, at this time, we'd have to meet with the general contractor, Gulf Developments, and find out when their start date would be. I don't have it at this time, but I'm assuming it'd be probably pretty soon.
Mayor to council. So I did have a conversation with Gulf Developments, and they are pretty antsy to see what's going on with this project. So it sounds like they're ready to go. I wouldn't be surprised if once we get the PO issued, we see something happening within the next month or so.
I'll get a motion on the table and then we can have a debate and discussion. Looking for a mover in a seconder that the Fire and Rescue Services report be received and that council award the contract for the request for tender for construction to the new Fire Station 3 to Gulf Developments in the amount of $5,034,519.01. Councillor Allard, Deputy Mayor Shepley, comments, questions. Councillor Hammond.
You, Mayor. Just curious, Chief, is, is there gonna be any, added features to this new fire hall that aren't included in our old, fire hall that we can look forward to?
The fire station is going to be identical to Station 2. From the outside, it's going to look identical. On the inside, we made a couple minor modifications to some interior walls, just to the fact that we have to accommodate our SCBA compressor for filling our air cylinders. So the kitchen is basically shifting into the training room. The accessible bathroom is following that, and then there'll be a room off of the back door for us to fill for our bottles. Other than that, it's the exact same building.
Included then will be, what I'm saying, why I've had a few courses taken there due to the, equipment and everything that's accessible there. Would that be accessible to our one in Harrow?
Through the chair, yes, it'll be accessible, yeah. And it's just, even with the kitchen moving in, it's still a large training room.
I'm just, I just want to say how thankful I am that we're finally going to get this last station underway. For a municipality our size, having 3 fire stations is pretty unique, and it really speaks to the level of service that we're putting out there. And I'm not sure how we compare to like Kingsville or Amherstburg, but I know that the strength of our department comes down to the people. We've got incredible firefighters across all 3 stations, and they deserve to have solid, reliable facilities to work out of. This station has been a long time coming. I'm really glad that we're able to deliver it, not just for our firefighters, but also for our residents. And I'm so happy to see that it's coming in under budget, and I can't wait till we can open the doors and the guys have a nice building to work out of. Thank you.
Councilor McGuire, please.
Thanks through the chair. Just a question, since this is identical, this Station 3 is going to be identical to Station 2. Did we get a quote from the builder who built Station 2? And if we did, would it be reasonable to go with that one just because they already know how to build the building? Would it be more economical or faster or anything like that?
They did submit a tender, although their submission was not the lowest in the RFT process. So that was part of our procurement and RFT process. We have to go with the lowest bidder.
Comments from members of council? I'm excited as well to get this project on the go, and the fact that we got so many bids is really exciting too. It shows that we were on point with what we bid, what we put into the budget. So great job to our administration for having a really accurate budget number. And also, you know, we did do a lot of homework on this location. I know that a few people are concerned about the location, but we did vet a lot of different properties. This location does save us in land acquisition costs, and using the same blueprint saves us a little bit more as well. So I know going forward, our administration will do a great job in working with the service groups to let them all know, and also to bring us a tender back for those pickleball courts that are coming next, pickleball and tennis. So really exciting. So any other comments? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Our fire and rescue services, our bylaw update, a memorandum of understanding with St. Clair College. Chief Pilon.
Yeah, this is a bylaw update. This isn't a new bylaw to the town of Essex. We started this partnership with St. Clair College back in 2017 when they needed a live burn facility / building for their NFPA certification for their pre-service fire program. And at that time, it was located at the Essex Pollution Plant off of North Malden Road. When we built the new fire station at Station 2, we relocated that building. And then so we have access to the washrooms, and actually it's better access for us close to our facility at Station 2. This building's a win for both St. Clair and Essex Fire. They conduct live fire for their pre-service program. And when they're not using it, we get to use it whenever we want, a little perk being on our property. So we use it for live fire. We also use it for a vast variety of training, you know, escapes, rescues, all sorts of things. So it's a good tool in our toolbox. It also helps us for our Southwest Fire Academy, our new firefighter recruits, to get their NFPA certification for their live fire component. And a little bit of a little perk for us for monetary. We get $75 from St. Clair College every time it's used. So, I mean, we're not getting rich, but it's a little perk for us. So last year it was used 6 times by other municipal fire departments too. So, you know, other neighboring municipalities need it for their live fire. They book it through St. Clair College and they use our facility.
Any questions, comments from members of council? At this point, I'll look for a mover and a seconder that bylaw 2503 being a bylaw to authorize the agreement be read a first, second, third time and finally passed. Moved by Councillor Mady, supported by Councillor Hammond. Any other questions, comments? All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. You're going for what is it, a hat trick? Hat trick, okay. Fire and Rescue Services report, our annual report. We have Chief Pilon.
Able to bring up the PowerPoint? Okay, within this annual report, I'll talk about our activities through 2025, which is our calls for service, fire prevention, and public education. Next slide, please. Just talk about some of our key highlights in 2025. We continued our partnership with Southwest Fire Academy. We continued our firefighter wellness through the RAMP clinic, which is firefighter cancer prevention and screening. We upgraded our PPE and equipment. We've continued our recommendations from the fire master plan, which we'll discuss later in this presentation. We were able to order and complete the design for Fire Engine 3, which is anticipated to arrive in early summer. Again, firefighter cancer prevention, we've started some cleaning and decontamination process with the department. Station 3 design, which we just discussed, and our grant funding. We were very fortunate this year to receive quite a bit of grant funding. Through our nuclear grant funding, we are getting a response trailer for emergency management. We updated some controls at Station 2. Enbridge was very grateful to us. We got some positive pressure fans and some smoke alarms for our smoke alarm program. Fire protection grant, we got an SCBA washer, which assists with our cancer prevention. And we're going to be installing apparatus filtration systems in all our trucks to filter out all the toxic gases and carcinogens after calls. And the Warrior Health Grant, we got mental health wellness training for our staff. Next slide, please. Emergency responses in 2025 were 346 in total, reported to the OFM. Out of those 346, 42 were fires, which is 12%. Out of those 12%, 8% were fires involving buildings or vehicles where there was a dollar loss. The other 4% were rubbish, grass, and field fires where there was no dollar loss. False alarms consistently stay the most responded call at 19%. Medical responses at second, 15%, and MVCs and rescues at 14%. I think it's important to note that you see in 2023, there was a very high response, but that was due to contributing to, we had 3 major storm events in 2023. We had the downburst, the ice storm, and the flooding. If we take away those calls, there were 64 calls during those 3 events. If you take away those, it's consistent with 24 and 25. Next slide, please. So responses per station. Now this is only single station responses. Only one station responded to a call. So the Harrow Station, Station 3 did 154. Essex did 135. Gesto did 55 and headquarters did 2. So that's where it was just a call to the office or somebody, one of our chiefs drove by a call and stopped and other resources weren't required. Next slide, please. So overall calls per station, this includes 2 station response. So when you look at it, station, the first slide, Station 2 only did 55 calls, but they technically did 77. So they were called out to assist on another station 22 times. Station 1 did 135, Station 3 is 158, and headquarters is 1, and the ice water rescue team went out twice in 2025. Out of the 1 headquarter call, that was a call that, again, one of our chiefs came across. 2 station response are used for vulnerable occupancy. So any calls to a retirement home where there could be a lot of people that need to be evacuated or a structure fire, those are automatic 2 station responses that's set up by dispatch. Next slide, please. So our dollar loss, dollar save comparison, factors such as occupancy type, building sizes play a role in determining these losses and savings as well, and determine the contents of the building. In 2025, there were 4 large loss fires, 3 houses and 1 barn where the properties were pretty much a total loss. This accounts for a majority of the dollar loss in 2025. The balance will be smaller structures, vehicles, or damages of structures as a result of fire. Also, the save in there is normally like if we have a room and content fire, a small kitchen fire, the balance of that house becomes a save value. Next slide, please. Fire training and development, we're constantly training and developing our firefighters. Through Southwest Fire Academy, we did an advanced forcible live entry with live fire at Station 2, where we utilized the cans from St. Clair College. We continued our standard first aid and CPR recertification, and we brought the OPP in to do an accident scene preservation training, origin cause scene preservation training for arson investigations. And we also continued our NFPA firefighter certification. So we did our firefighter recruits, our driver pump operators. We did some officers, an incident safety officer, and we brought in the OFM firefighter training unit, and we continued peer support training. That live fire training unit, I know we did some public education on that last year and some social media. It was well received by our firefighters and our staff, so much that we're bringing it back this year. So that OFM's live fire trailer will be back in September of this year. Another thing we added by the OFM this year was a learning portal, which allows our firefighters to go online and train when they want. They sign up for the courses and it's at a minimal cost, but they train on their own time and they can stay home. 31 courses were completed by our staff using that portal this year, which is incredible. Next slide, please. Moving on to prevention and our fire inspections. The column on the left is the inspection type. So we do inspections based on complaint, follow-up, licensing, request, routine, or safety concern. And then the column on the right is our property type. So we do assembly occupancy, businesses, industrial buildings, institutional, mercantile, miscellaneous, other, residential, and vehicles. People ask what a vehicle would be. A vehicle would be like a food truck that requires a fire inspection. Captured within that residential is our 30 short-term rental unit inspections for licensing renewal and 17 migrant worker housing inspections that's coordinated through the health unit. As well as those residential and institutional is our 15 registered vulnerable occupancies. We're required by the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office to do an annual fire drill, fire safety plan review, and witness staff training. Next slide, please. It was another successful year for fire prevention and public education. Our smoke alarm program continued. We did 235 residential checks, which are done on a smoke alarm survey night when we send our crews out and going door to door, as well as we do in-service checks. Anytime we go to a house, we don't leave without checking their smoke alarms. Our burn permits, we issued 868 through the Fluent IMS system, where everybody goes online and issues their burn through there. And we attended 71 events in 2025. And we track how many people go to these events. An estimated 15,000 residents and visitors receive some public education at those events. Next slide, please. An update on our fire master plan. We completed it in 2024 through the Lumex group. It established reference material for 5 to 10 years. It's basically a roadmap for our fire department to follow. There was 24 recommendations and strategies. 22 of those are complete, which is 92%. So there were 6 immediate recommendations that are required to be done between 0 and 1 year. Those were mostly bylaw reviews, public survey reviews, updating our medical tiered response agreement, which is done, develop para-trainers, which we're doing, and offer more training to our firefighters, which we're always doing. And then there was 13 short-term recommendations, which are recommendations that need to be done in 2 to 5 years. All short-term recommendations are complete with the exception of the staffing recommendations, which are still being monitored. Some of those short-term recommendations were having full-time administrative assistant hours at that fire hall, which we've gotten to. We need a primary or alternate community emergency management coordinator that's not involved in fire. We've completed that. Fitness and wellness programs, which we're completing. Training committee, which we've completed. Fire Station 3 at Roseboro Road, and radio system upgrades, all of which have been done. So the long-term recommendations is recommended to hire a full-time support firefighter after the current part-time position ends, and this will be considered at a later date. The other staffing recommendations is the recommendation to hire another full-time staff to act as a trainer and fire prevention officer. Again, we're monitoring those situations and they're ongoing right now. But we're in good shape for our fire master plan. We're way ahead of schedule on the recommendations and the timelines that they gave. Next slide, please. And then through that plan, there was always 5 ongoing recommendations that will continue to be ongoing. So it's monitoring and reviewing our establishing and regulating bylaw, review all our bylaws and update when required, continue emergency management exercises, training through external resources to fill our legislative compliance, monitor calls for service and response and staffing levels, and ensure our fire department tanker shuttle service meets all the applicable guidelines. And all these ongoing recommendations are continuously being monitored by our staff. Next slide. And in conclusion, we're grateful for 2025, also for council support, and we stayed free of any major injuries from our firefighters. And their dedication is exceptional, and their outstanding service to the residents of Essex. Thank you.
Questions or comments from members of council this evening? Deputy Mayor Shepley.
Just more of a comment than anything. You know what? When you read a report like this, you see that, you guys are there for, you show up and answer that call for all those calls of service, and then you're there for the education, the inspections, and all the other stuff. It gives us a better understanding of all the work that you do, and from the little things to the big thing for your, saving lives or buildings or whatever. So I just want, want to put out a thank you to you guys, the chief, and all your firefighters for the work you do throughout the year. So thank you for that.
Questions, comments from members of council this evening? It was really great to see how much you've achieved in the fire master plan, and the last one is one of the harder things to achieve, but a really good job to you and your team for working on that. One thing I'd love to see that doesn't come in the annual report, but one thing I'd love to see for the new term of council is like a picture or a visual of each station and the trucks that go into each station, and how old the trucks are and what condition they are, so that we all have a visual in our head of, station 1 trucks, are in, red, green, and station 2, so that it sets the tone for the beginning of the council, knowing which fire trucks we may need. And so then we can all get on board and budget for that. But keep up the great work. I think it's great. And I do have a question. Where are the 2 ice rescues? Were they in like lakes or ponds, or you remember? Do you have that?
Mayor Bonnie, I'm 99% sure they were both on Lake Erie, where we had no actually service. We were canceled.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, thank you for continuing with that training. Looking for a motion that the fire and rescue annual report be received for information. Councillor Hammond, Councillor Allard, all in favor? That's carried unanimously. Moving on to our special events resource team, looking for a mover and a seconder that the report be received. And we can speak to Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor McGuire Blaze. Any questions, comments to our director from council? Director Morrissey wants to speak.
Ronnie and to council. This report is we're starting up the season for events, so we do plan on coming with this report at the first meeting of every month, just for a council update. And as new events are coming, we will have reports for those individual events as we talked about during the delegation of authority discussions. So when we do have those new events that are large scale, we will be coming to council for a formal approval.
CAO Drusevich. I thought you wanted to speak. Oh, okay. Councilor McGuire Blaze.
Thanks to the chair. Just wondering, I love seeing all the events that are happening in our town. Is it possible to say who is putting on the events? Like, it would be nice to know, is it Optimist Club? Is it the town of Essex? Is it an external organization? Like, for example, the Glow Ride in Sadler's Park, is that something the town is doing, or is it an external thing? Just additional information, just because I'm nosy.
Through the mayor, it's something we can certainly look into. Some events may be a little bit more on the private side where they're not looking to have those names publicized and advertised. The ones, what we do is we try to ensure that any event host puts the information on our website.
McGuire Blaze, any other questions, comments from members of council? The 4th or maybe 5th annual charity yard sale is on May 23rd. And if you are a service group or a member in the community and you want to volunteer and raise some money for your charity, please reach out to me. I'm collecting volunteers for that day. We already have a mover and a second. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Moving on to cloud permitting and planning and building contracts. We do have Director Chadwick here for questions. I'll get a motion on the table. That development services report be received and that council approve the renewal of the building module agreement with cloud permit for 5 years at the annual cost of $34,000, and that council approve the single source procurement for the building module renewal in accordance with section 9.08 of the procurement bylaw 2437, and that council approve the addition of the planning module to the existing cloud permit platform for a 5-year term, and that council approve single source procurement for the planning module in accordance with the procurement bylaw, and that council approve the required pre-budget commitments associated with both agreements, with future costs to be incorporated into upcoming operating budgets as contractual obligations. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councilor Verbeek. Any questions, comments from members of council? I do have a couple questions and comments. Director Chadwick, I think that's who, yes. What changes are we seeing between the versions? Like, are we seeing a lot of upgrades? A lot of differences?
We're not seeing any changes per se. What we're looking for is an extension of an existing contract that works and has been, we'll say, upgraded just for efficiencies and just regular software upgrades. So nothing substantial. And then, of course, the planning module would be brand new to the town of Essex. Council received, as a part of our budget deliberations this past budget, received kind of a heads up of what's to come for the planning module. It's all going to be housed in Cloud Permit. So essentially, is it, a new upgrade? It's a new module in its entirety. We're very excited to get started, to see planning applications and really handing that baton from one division to another. We'll see a ton of efficiencies and, in fact, would be a better user experience for the developers, the contractors, the residents themselves as well.
Are there any like biannual or annual fees that we have to also pay to like upgrade the versions along the way?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, it's the straight contract fee. Planning would be around the 24,000 mark. That's including the non-refundable taxes per year. And the building is around the 34,000 mark. But there are no, if there were any mid-year, we've not been required to pay those under contract.
One last one. If somebody is not techie, doesn't have internet, are they able to go to the building department and get help if they are unable to sit at home and submit?
Excuse me. Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yes, we welcome folks to stop in. We have a kiosk currently at our Gesto office, which is our satellite municipal office here at the town of Essex. The kiosk is live and you're able to open up your own Cloud Permit account. We have very helpful individuals, building technician, building clerk, to assist. That kiosk will be available when we do move here to Town Hall, and will also encompass assistance for the planning module as well.
All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Moving on to drainage, the appointment of an engineer under section 78 and 76 of the Drainage Act for the Bowler South Malden drain. Needing a mover and a seconder that the report be received and that council appoint Rude Engineering under section 78 and 76 of the Drainage Act to review the Bowler South Malden Road drain. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councilor McGuire-Blaze. Any questions? All in favor? It's carried unanimously. Moving on to legal and legislative services, the prohibition of the use of corporate resources during election. And we will go to Director Malandrucolo to explain this report to us. Welcome.
Bonnie, through you. Before I start speaking on the prohibition on the use of corporate resources, I'm actually not going to speak too much of that one. There were some questions last meeting about our proxy application process. There were some that specifically came in from Councillor Guerin and Deputy Mayor Shepley. And I promised some answers at the next meeting. So one of the things that I want to do is go through the process a little bit more and provide some more clarity, because it was not clear when I provided it last time. So one of the things that I wanted to mention is, as far as proxy applications go, they won't be issued until after August 24th, 2026. So we'll begin issuing them on August 25th, 2026. When somebody wants to receive a proxy application, they let the clerk's department know, and there's 3 ways that they can receive the application. We can issue it to them in person, or they can request that we either mail it or send it to them by email. So they can receive it that way if they're not able to come into Town Hall. If they want to come into Town Hall, they can come into Town Hall during our normal operating hours from 8:30 to 4:30 on Monday through Friday, excluding holidays. They can also come on advanced voting days. We're required to be open for proxies on advanced voting days. So 2 of our advanced voting days are on Saturdays. We will have people here at that time in order for anyone to receive a proxy application if they want to receive it. Also on the advanced voting days that are during the week, we'll have people here from 12 to 5 on all 4 of those advanced voting days. So we'll stay open a little bit extra on those days so that people could come and receive their forms. Once you receive the form, you have to fill out the information on the form, and you have to designate a person to be your proxy. That you have to be an elector in the town of Essex. We confirm that when we provide you the form. The person who you designate as the proxy also has to be an elector in the town of Essex. Okay. If you are a proxy for somebody who is not your family member, then you can only be a proxy for one person. If you are a proxy for a family member, it's an unlimited amount of family members, whether or not they live with you. And a family member is defined as a spouse, a parent, a grandparent, a child, or a sibling, or a grandchild. And if you are a proxy for a family member, you cannot be a proxy for a non-family member. Okay. And then as far as confirming identity goes, we will accept photocopies of a person's identification. So if you are a person who's appointing a proxy, that person who you've appointed comes to us with the form and with the photocopy of your identification, and we can accept that as confirmation of identification. It has to happen, though, at the clerk's office. It can't happen at the voting center. It doesn't happen anywhere else. It's only at the clerk's office. So the person who wants to be the proxy has to come in, show the ID, and show the proxy form to the clerk, and then we will issue that proxy. I will designate people other than myself to be my designates to confirm proxies. So there will always be people here during regular business hours and during those times at the advanced polls to deal with those forms. On election day, we are not issuing proxies. You have to have the proxy completed by the day before the election day. Okay. If there's any more questions about proxies, I can answer them, but I thought that would provide some clarity based on the questions that you asked at the last meeting.
Hello, Councillor Verbeek.
Mayor, just the way you said that, who has to come in and pick up the proxy form?
So through the chair, at the first instance, the person who wants to appoint a proxy has to receive a form from the clerk. So they can do that either in person, or they can request that we mail it, or by email. Once they receive the form, they give that form to the person who's going to be the elector for them. So the person who is their proxy. And then that person has to actually physically, they have no option but to physically come in and get that form approved and receive the confirmation of proxy.
Mayor. So, Mr. Melendrico, what you're saying is anybody who's going to be a proxy south of number 3 has to come all the way to Essex in order to do that.
Yes, we've only designated town hall to be the place to confirm proxies.
Mayor Shepley.
And I just want to say thank you for the clarification. Well, I know we're not trying to stand in the way of anybody getting their vote counted, but I like that it's very clear and it's structured well enough that there shouldn't be any abuse to it at all. I like that you've cleared that up first and you've answered my questions. Thank you for that.
The answer that was just given to Councillor Hammond. So if I live out on the beach and I email and request a proxy because I can't leave my home, so I need someone to carry my vote, can't my proxy pick it up at the advanced poll in Colchester or McGregor or Harrow?
Through the chair, no, they won't be able to pick up the proxy at those centers, but we can mail or email the proxy to you, and you can give it to your person to come and bring to us with a photocopy of your identification.
Okay, thank you. So back to what Counselor Hammond was saying, if we are finding a couple, I think we only had 10 proxies in the last election. But if we are finding that there are more proxies from the southern end of our municipality this time, is there anything that we can do to accommodate that? I do remember back in the 2010, it's a long time ago, 2010, but the clerk actually did do some things in the southern end, but she actually lived there. So I'm wondering if there's any wiggle room or discretion there where, you know, one of our clerks works a half a day out of Harrow where 5 or 6 people come for proxies.
Through the chair, we cannot because of the way that we currently have set up our resources for this election. But if that's feedback that we receive from council for the next election, we can try and make some arrangements. What the problem is that we have to appoint people who have the authority to deal with those applications. And all of those people who can be appointed are currently at town hall. So we would have to make arrangements for those people to be outside of town hall temporarily. And we didn't afford that in our policy that was passed at the last meeting.
I have Councilor McGuire Blaze, and then I'll go to Councilor Verbeek.
Thanks through the chair. Just wondering, could we not schedule appointments for like a date in Harrow? So you schedule the appointment with the date, you know that there's 3 people coming and they're coming at 3 o'clock. And we have a clerk go there for 3 o'clock on the Tuesday. And we say Wednesday will be McGregor. And we know we have 3 people going to McGregor for these proxies. I don't like if it's so hard if it's difficult for them to come all the way into Essex, which is far, it's almost a 25-minute drive. I don't know why we can't schedule appointments and do it by appointment and schedule them all in the same day. So they're all coming at the same day, the same time.
Through the chair, what the problem is now is that we would have to create a policy that makes it fair for everybody. So for example, we would have to be able to allocate resources to be there at certain times, because if we don't have a policy that provides for what we think is a fair allocation of resources at those different centers, you may have people that have an advantage over other people because they can get to there at the certain dates or things like that. So because it wasn't contemplated in the policy, really right now, all we have is the resources here at town.
I appreciate this, and I think this is I think this is a really good direction to go. If it is important enough for an individual, if you know you're not going to be able to get your vote and you need someone to proxy for you, they're not going to be opposed to sending an email and having it come in the mail if they don't have the means or the gas to come to Essex to pick it up. They have enough runway. And if we make sure that we're clear with our messaging, that if you're hoping to get a proxy, I mean, Elections Canada and Elections Ontario, you knew if you wanted to use the mail-in ballot, you better get on it early or you're going to miss out. So I think if we've got enough runway if people want to use the mail to get their proxy rather than drive in.
I think the mail to that person that needs to be voted, that is the easy part. I think the hard part is getting the proxy certified, which has to be at town hall between 8:30 and 4:30, 25 minutes away from people in the southern end of our municipality, which is actually disadvantaging them. But that being said, I did not hear complaints in the last election in terms of proxy hurdles. I think if we're continuing only to do it in Essex Center, we should have evening opportunities as well. I'm wondering if I have to go to Councillor Guerin, but if it's only 8:30 to 4:30, that might be another hurdle. So maybe we have to open up evening hours. Councillor Guerin?
Yeah, I think it's common practice to be at like Windsor's the same thing. You gotta go downtown. I was just checking Lakeshore. You gotta go, if you live in Comber, you gotta go to Bell River. If you live in Forest Glade, you gotta go downtown. That's to get it certified, but most of them are having extended hours past regular 8:30 to 4:30s. They're going to 8 o'clock on certain days.
Through the chair, I think the best I can do for council is I can look into the extended hours, and if I think that there's a way that we can accommodate that, then I'll bring that back to council.
Extended appointment if it was like an appointment. I wouldn't expect town staff to be here till 8:30, 9 o'clock. But if somebody lives in the southern end and they work till 4 and they have to get here at 4:45, like that. But good conversation. Okay, we want to move on to prohibition of corporate resources. Any other proxy conversation? Okay. We do have the prohibition of corporate resources. I'm going to get a mover and a seconder to get it on the table, that the legal and legislative services report be received for information. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor Verbeek. And does any member of council have any questions? Was Director Malin-Juglo, was there a lot of changes between this one and the other previous one?
There were not many changes, no. Basically a lot of clarifications. Everything else pretty much stayed the same.
Thank you. Councillor Hammond?
Mayor, to Mr. Bellandruco again. Third-party advertisers and gifts, whether money or gifts. How are they supposed to be treated? As far as, say I get a gift and I re-gift it during my campaign, pictures, blah, blah, blah. How is that to be treated?
Director Malin-Juglo?
So through the chair, so are you saying that they're gifts that might be thought of as being proceeds towards an election campaign?
Yeah. If any gift that you're getting during a campaign, is it considered a gift towards campaign?
So through the chair, I'll come back to you for confirmation on it, but I think it has to clearly be something that is part of a proceeds that act towards the campaign. So if the gift is something that will allow you, it's considered a campaign material or something that assists with your campaign, then I believe that would have to be considered as part of like a financial contribution towards your campaign. But let me come back to you on that one.
Okay. Another question regarding town swag, town any indication that you're part of the town, not supposed to be visible, I'm assuming. Sorry, Mayor, but what about the mayor's truck?
So through the chair, that question is easy. You in the policy, you are allowed to you're allowed to continue your operations as a town councillor. So if you're attending things that are not considered a campaign event, but considered part of your usual councillor activities, you can attend those events. When you attend those events, though, we suggest that you don't wear any of those materials, that you stay away from wearing any of your swag or doing any of that stuff. What will happen is, for example, if there's a picture taken and it ends up in the media or it ends up on social media or anything like that, we won't identify your names. It would just be councillors for the town of Essex. So we would ask you to not wear that stuff even when you're attending the events, but you are allowed to continue to attend the events and do your council work, but shouldn't be promoting them, shouldn't be wearing the promotion in case it ends up in some sort of publication like that. The vehicle, as far as the vehicle goes, so when the mayor declares that she is running for mayor, so when she makes her official declaration that she is running, she can no longer say, it can no longer say Sherry Bondi Mayor on her vehicle. It would then be considered an election sign. And you cannot post election signs until 45 days prior to the election. So the signs on vehicles will have to be removed until an election sign permit is provided. So between your official nomination date and 45 days prior to the election, vehicles are not allowed to have any signs on them.
Follow up. Would it have to be, say, for mayor then?
So through the chair, 45 days prior to the election, the sign will have to say for mayor again. Correct, not mayor.
I did have a couple questions on the internet side of things. So I know I currently have like a deputy mayor page that I post town things on. And I also have prepared, it's not, I don't think it's live yet. I don't think it is anyways, a reelection one. Those are two separate entities. So on my regular page, I can continue as I am, as long as I'm not trying to gain votes or support via that page. I can still do my job that I've been elected to do and post and share information as such, as long as I'm not sharing it in any way, shape, or form as an election page, and keep the two pages totally separate.
I think I did mention previously that we do have an elections coordinator here at the town. She has already started to begin to scan social media accounts and to make a determination as to whether or not there are any accounts that may potentially be crossing boundaries during the nomination period. We are going to continue to look at those, and we'll come back to the counselors that we think we have potential issues with. But what she's made clear so far is that the most of the accounts that she's seen, there's a clear delineation between your personal account and your election account and your counselor's accounts. And she said that's very important, is that you keep that clear delineation. So you're allowed to campaign on your person for mayor account, but you're not allowed to campaign on your personal account. And so keeping those two things separate are very important. And we're going to continue to provide you with some information to help you make sure that you are doing that properly.
Prior to the 45-day period, if we had our name on our vehicles, as long as we don't have elect or re-elect or anything like that, as long as our name was just on our vehicle, we would be okay. And that's in that situation, as long as we weren't trying to lot votes.
What is kind of weird about this is the second that you post your name for election, you're no longer allowed to call yourself mayor or counselor. So for example, if Mayor Bondi submits her name on May 1st, she cannot put mayor on her car beginning on May 1st. And then she cannot put for mayor on her car until she receives her election sign permit, which we will not be issuing until 45 days prior to the election. So there's a gap there where she can probably just keep her name Sherry Bondi, but no mayor or for mayor until she receives her election sign permit.
I know it's a little bit nitpicky, but just so we understand, and just so that I'm just trying to avoid you getting 100 calls because we weren't clear on that issue. And I think you did a good job of clearing that up for anybody who may or may not call on those issues. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So did I just hear you say, moving forward, after we submit our paperwork, we are officially a candidate? We can't use our personal account, our personal Facebook, as we have in the past, because some of us don't have official counselor, so I have never had a counselor Facebook. I have just always conducted my personal everything from, so are you saying we're going to have to go back to getting, because that didn't work the last time, getting a separate account for campaigning?
Yeah, we're going to give you a primer on this that's going to have some more detailed information. The elections coordinator is currently drafting it. We're going to send it to all of council because you're in a different situation than anybody else. And the rules that apply to you, the rules are more importantly apply to you than anybody else because you're trying to do two different things at the same time. But once you are officially a candidate, you officially put your name in for candidacy, you are no longer allowed to call yourself a counselor. You are counselor, like Kim Verbeek for counselor. So you do need to change some things up, and we'll give you some direction on how you can do that properly to make sure that you're operating within the. Okay.
So say I have an active Facebook account right now and I'm posting Town of Essex pictures on it. The day that I put in my name, I change it. I have to go back and delete pictures that have me, say, sitting in the mayor's chair.
The chair, no, you don't need to change historical photos. Those can remain. And you could continue to post things that are related to your operation as a mayor, but not campaign materials. Again, we'll provide you with some more clarity and some examples to help you through the process. What the delineation needs to be is, are you doing something as in your role as mayor, which you are until the end of the election, or are you doing something to campaign for mayor? And you need to delineate the two during the election process.
Peter Mayor, yes, so, using our business cards and our role as a counselor, even after declaring, is okay, as long as we're using it for our business and not giving out 500 at the festival.
The chair, as long as you're using it to continue your role as counselor, yes.
Questions? So use of corporate resources, so new candidates that throw their name in the hat, they can't come take a picture of themselves with town hall in the background on their sign, items like that.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
I haven't talked about it yet. Something will be coming up. When you do deal with the signs this year, I know there were some issues last year with second floor signs, first floor signs, something just to keep in mind as we approach that for you to kind of look at. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I still want to remind everybody that there's still time to pre-register for the pre-election municipal candidates info session tomorrow night at the county. So you can go on the County of Essex website, and I believe all municipal clerks in the region are out there. So anybody that is interested in running, now is your chance to come out and learn more. Director Malajuklu?
There are no questions to my next report. I also did want to mention that on April 20th, when I come to council I'm going to come with another election report. I'm going to provide council in public the timelines of all of the important dates for the election period, so that you're aware of all the timelines, and then it'll also go out to public at that time. So April 20th timelines are for you guys.
We have a mover and a seconder for this. Okay, all in favor of the prohibition of use of corporate resources, just receiving that one. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Legal and Legislative Services Municipal Election Recount Policy. Looking for a mover and a seconder. That council support the Town of Essex Municipal Election Recount Policy by giving it a first, second, and third reading, and finally pass it, the bylaw 2025. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Mady. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Shepley.
Good, and so everything makes sense. I'm just wondering if you could speak to how you arrived on the 0.5% threshold for the recount process, and further to that, if you could also explain, I know that when we do a recount, it runs back to the machine. Is there an instance where we would ever rely on a hand count visually?
Through the chair, I thought that one was coming again, so I did do some research on that. But as far as the 0.5% goes, in the legislation, there are three legislated times where you have to hold a recount, and one of them is when the numbers are completely even. And understanding that that's not reasonable, because probably when you want to recount, it's probably because you're so close that there may have been a problem, and so you want to do it again. The number that's chosen by most municipalities is the 0.5%. So it's a number that's come up to be something more reasonable, that would more reasonably represent a potential mistake. And so that's the number that was chosen. It's a number that's pretty consistent with other municipalities. With regard to the recount process, I did research this for you since our last meeting, and the Elections Ontario and the government of Ontario suggest that municipalities should respect the accuracy of the voting equipment that we've chosen to use, and to not do hand counting, and that any recounts, it specifically says in the legislation that any recount should follow the same method that council approved for the original count. So it would go through the machine.
So in a recount, are the scrutineers able to see the papers sliding in, or they just witness them sliding them in? They're not allowed to examine them. They're just put it into the machine and they stand there and watch. I'm trying to understand so that we know whether it's worth having a scrutineer there or if they're just watching somebody load papers, it's probably not worth their time to be there.
So through the chair, there's a process that the clerk would follow in the event of a recount, which includes pulling out the tapes, setting the machine to zero, pulling out the tapes, looking at spoiled ballots to make sure that they're spoiled and to not count them again, and then to re-enter into the machine. You're allowed a lawyer, so each candidate is allowed a lawyer and a scrutineer to be in the area to witness the process. But that's it, to be in that area to witness the process. And it's only for the candidates who are within that 0.5 margin. It's not anybody who is outside of that margin, but who is involved. So for example, if there were two positions in the ward and we were only recounting for the second position, the person in the first position would not be allowed to have any representatives there. It's only the two people who are vying for that second.
Further to that, one last thing that you brought it up, and I'm just curious. So on spoiled ballots on the first run through, do you, as the clerk, check them at any point in time or only in the event of a recount? How does that, so when a spoiled ballot goes into the box, do you open that up and check that to verify them in the first round of voting?
When the equipment determines it to be a spoiled ballot, I'm not allowed to even consider it in the recount. Once it's a spoiled ballot, it's a spoiled ballot. And I have to rely on the equipment. When the equipment says it is, it's considered a spoiled ballot.
Who's council? Any other members of council? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? That's carried unanimously. Moving on to the summary of outstanding council reports, we'll get a motion to get it on the table. Looking for a mover and a seconder that the CAO report be received for information. Moved by Councillor Verbeek, Councillor Hammond. Any questions from members of council? Okay, I do have a couple myself that I believe I will ask maybe to the CAO or our directors. I think we're making really good progress on this. It's crazy to see how many notices of motions that we did have down to how many that are left. There is a one that says the notice of motion to direct administration to review the town's property standards bylaw and return with a report. I see that one now says phased in. Can administration, I'm not sure who wants to explain what that means, phased in.
So through the chair, there are a couple of bylaws that have been identified that operate in accordance with the property standards bylaw that our bylaw department, the manager of our bylaw department has determined may need some review in order to improve the standards of properties around the municipality. Because our property standards bylaw is so large and is often controversial, our bylaw department has decided that the best way to approach property standards violations in the municipality would be to start addressing the ancillary bylaws because they're smaller and still have some impact, and then make their way to the property standards bylaw as time goes on. The other thing is we'll have a new council next year. So we thought that it might make sense for the new council to have their influence on the property standards bylaw since it is so influential in the town.
So one of the ones that the Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor Verbeek, and myself, we held a development roundtable discussion back in 2024, and the notice of motion from April saying that we were going to review the property standards bylaw, and we had 4 things. And I know the surety bonds was something that was directed by the province, so we did handle that one. And I'm seeing that the goalpost has changed on that each report we receive. At first it was, August 2025, and then it was December 2025, and then it was January 2026. And now I see it's July 2026. So I'm looking if we can have a commitment that this is handled this term of council. As the mayor, and members of council that joined me that day, it was great to see developers come and give feedback but I want the feedback to be meaningful. And that means that we, in my opinion, we should be addressing this rather than it continuing to wait. And maybe it needs to be dealt with like we're dealing with the property standards bylaw. Maybe it needs to be dealt with in smaller chunks rather than looking at the whole development standards manual. That's the only one that is outstanding this term that I really hope that we can get across the finish line.
Through the chair. So I've had conversations with our director of infrastructure services, and we are on track to deliver it this term of council. It did turn out to be a bigger endeavor than initially anticipated, simply the pure size of that document alone, right? So it's 750 pages, and it impacts every department across the entire town. So I believe that when the work was kicked off, the amount of collaboration in it is causing some of the delays. I know that you guys you continue to hear that workload's heavy, but this is one of the motions that is not just a simple report. It required cross-departmental collaboration. And then because it was developed by a consultant as well, there was a lot of engineered study as well as design that had to be accompanied with the appendices. So this one was a bit more complex than the typical notice of motion. I'll pass it to Director Jar if there's anything you want to add on top of that, but for me.
No, I think through the chair that was a good explanation. We are still down staff as well in my department and juggling a lot of tasks. So yeah, we are working on it. We will deliver it before this term of council is over.
In hindsight, I would have looked at it, having it more like piecemeal, like when we were addressing the trees, we had a report, and when we addressed how we're planting trees, we made an immediate change to the development standards manual. And I know these are a lot more complicated, but I really think it's important that we work with our developers, we listen and we hear their concerns, we bring it back and try to address them. So, you know, if I'm here in the new term of council, something that I would like to see is administration with perhaps the mayor and deputy mayor hold a development roundtable and hear the concerns, and so that we can look to, you know, cut the red tape and make sure that we're listening to our developers with meaningful changes and impact here at the council table. Otherwise, other than that one, there's a lot of good work that we have done and got completed. Any other questions from members of council? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried unanimously. Reports from our youth members. Welcome.
Everyone. So news for the youth of the community, the Greater Essex County District School Board scholarships are open. So all the applications are open now. I think they close in 2 or 3 weeks. So April 27th. Thank you, Lauren. So get your applications in.
Registration for the FunFest 5K, the third year, is now open. So if you go on race roster, you can search up FunFest and then you can register for the race. And the money is always going back to the Essex Food Bank. Thank you.
Thank you. Say happy birthday to your dad for me. County Council update. We do have the correspondence listed in agenda item 12.1.1 to be received. Looking for a motion to receive this. Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Hammond. Any questions to this correspondence? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried unanimously. We have correspondence to be received in agenda item 13.1. There are quite a few this evening. So I'll seek a motion to receive them all, and then we can pull some out. Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Allard, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, I'll go to members of council. Councillor McGuire-Blaze, you did have one.
Thanks to the chair. It's actually the two together, 13.1.9 and 13.1.1. These two are just outlining the changes that are coming down provincially to the IRCA board. So the good news is that the province has heard us. They've read our letters. They have made amendments, and they're not combining so many municipalities or into one board. But there are some serious concerns with what they are bringing down, which the main one is not giving two-tiered municipalities a say at the board. They're not giving us a say in what happens. So for Essex County, all of the municipalities here, Kingsville, Lakeshore, Essex, would have no seat at the board. So two-tier municipalities would have no say. So what I'm asking is, we pull these, we send a letter, obviously thanking the province for hearing us because they did, and they have made some changes. The changes just aren't necessarily in our favor as a two-tier municipality. So I'd like to write a letter addressing the concerns that we have, and sending it to all of the list. And hopefully you guys support that.
Support. Deputy Mayor Shepley, you had your hand up? Okay, so supported. And all of our list includes all of our reps. The official opposition is on there, as well as our MPPs locally. Okay, any questions for that one? All in favor? Oh, sorry. Oh, Councillor Jason Mady. Yep.
A little clarification. So we're gonna support the letters that were presented by IRCA, and we're gonna send those ones on. Are we also gonna make another one that Councilor McGuire Blaze is talking to too? So like we'd have 3 then?
We're supporting these letters, and we're writing our own letter to the province, to the opposition, to AMO, to all the municipalities, letting them know that we are opposed to some of the things that are happening in what they're currently have laid out for us.
Chair, what I can do if it appeases councils in the cover letter, I can say that our council agrees with everything in the letters, and we support what the letters are saying, and then we can attach the 2 letters if that works for council.
Maybe? Nope. Thank you for clarification. That was good. I didn't catch that. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Any Deputy Mayor Shepley?
0.4. I just want to comment on. I appreciate the follow up, and it's good to know that it's still on the minister's radar. And I understand that it was really heavily subscribed this time again, but I understand it's going to be opening back up one more time. We'll have another opportunity at this to tighten up our application, and hopefully we can get it over the finish line this time. So I just wanted to point that out to anybody who's looking and wondering what's going on with the sports fields, that we're still trying, we're still active, and it is coming up again. So we will be trying again. And then the other 2, I just went to 13.1.1 and 13.1.2. Again, just a comment. It was a great response on our drinking water. It's always nice that the residents can turn the tap on and feel safe drinking that glass of water. So great work on that one as well. So that's my 2 comments. Thank you.
Shepley, and after our delegation at Roma, we sent a thank you, and this is the thank you to our thank you. And we did have a brainstorming session amongst those of us that went to Roma on how we can work on our application and seek some improvements on our end. Any other items from members of council? I do have one myself, the town of LaSalle support of Finley's Law. Wondering if there is a mover and a seconder from the floor, so I don't have to pass the gavel to support this. It's going around, moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Mayor Bondi, that we support this. It is for emergency pediatric healthcare, and all of the locals here are supporting it. Any other questions? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Correspondence to be received and supported. There is a letter from the mayor's office to our MPP in the province of Ontario, thanking them for the investment into EnerQuest Technologies. Just looking for council to receive and support this. It has already been sent. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Hammond. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Committee meeting minutes. We have our minutes listed in agenda item 14. We do have Santa's Village, Arts, Culture, Tourism, Essex Festival, Essex BIA. We do have Kristen Tell to be appointed, and Mezba is resigning, I believe. Yes, the resignation. So they're not losing any bodies for quorum, so that's a good thing. So we'll have a motion that we receive them all and write a letter of appreciation. Moved by Councilor McGuire Blaze, Councillor Allard. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried unanimously. Under new business, we do have Windsor Canada Utilities Board Advisory Board. I'm wondering if I could go to Director Malandrucolo just to tell us our options here, please.
Through you, council might remember that a few months ago we nominated some people to be appointed to the Windsor Utilities Limited Board Advisory Committee. we heard from Windsor Canada Utilities Limited that one of the people who we nominated can no longer make the commitment to sit on the board. So as such, we have two options. We can either ask the committee to proceed with four members, or we can appoint another member either tonight or at our next meeting. We're not sure if maybe somebody from council has an interest to be appointed to the board and join the board, or if we wanted to continue with four, or if we wanted to put out another call for nominations, which I wouldn't suggest. But just looking to council for their thoughts on this.
So what I am hearing from the person that we've nominated or requested to be from chair is that they're having a hard time getting quorum. They're having a hard time getting people to have the meeting. So this person would have to have pretty good availability. And in considering that, I know Deputy Mayor Shepley, I think that you would be able to have that sort of availability. I'm wondering if you're interested in sitting on this board.
Certainly, I'd be interested in sitting on it. I mean, I obviously don't want to overstep the Ward 1 councillors either, but if nobody's if they're not interested, I would certainly be interested. I have some time, and I'm in the area that's serviced by them. So,
Okay, looking for comments from council. Councillor Hammond.
Corroborate being a member of that board that have been having trouble getting quorum. The meetings are during the day, during business hours, so I'm sure that's part of the reason why it's so, but for sure, I would like to see another member so we could have a better chance at getting quorum.
Other questions, comments? Councilor McGuire-Blaze.
For the chair, do we have to nominate? Can I nominate, or did you already do that? Is that what? Yeah, so can I nominate Deputy Mayor Shepley for the position?
Moved by Councilor McGuire-Blaze, Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councilor Verbeek. Any other questions, comments, or nominations? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you for stepping up, Deputy Mayor. We do have a notice of motion submitted tonight. Director Malin-Drucolo.
Did one more clarification on it? So the following notice of motion is moved by Mayor Bondi, that council direct administration a request from the municipality of Lakeshore, the number of dogs from the town of Essex impounded and euthanized at the Lakeshore Dog Pound due to the classification of no other choice during 2025 and to date in 2026 with reasons, and to use such information to determine whether or not administration would suggest changes to the town's dog pound contract. So that was only for presentment tonight, and it will be considered at the April 2026 meeting.
Below any other notices of motion? Okay, seeing none. I hope everybody had a restful March break and an enjoyable Easter weekend with friends and family. Thank you to many of our service organizations and churches that hosted Easter egg events for our children across our community. Your efforts are truly appreciated. The Canadian Transportation Museum is currently fundraising for a new roof, so I encourage anybody who can support this localized organization to donate. I'd also like to thank the volunteers and Councillor Allard who showed up this past Saturday. We cleaned up over 20 bags of garbage, and we cleaned all of Dunn Road from County Road 50 to Gore. And we had a lot of pride in doing it. We found some really bad and also kind of some exciting things. So we'll be hosting the next cleanup this Saturday at 11 o'clock meeting at Town Hall. I'm also pleased to share that we have 2 accessible lifts installed at our pool. We look forward to welcoming residents from the entire Essex County to enjoy these upgrades, made possible through a provincial grant called Ontario Enhancing Access to Spaces Everyone's Grant. I'd also like to congratulate our most recent members to the Essex County Agricultural Hall of Fame that we had their induction last Thursday. Deputy Mayor Shepley, Mayor Tracy Bailey, and Deputy Mayor Kirk Walstead were also there with me. So congratulations to Leo Jabalt, Neil Macbeth, the late Walter McLean, and Rochelle Deslip. As we approach the completion of our town hall expansion, I'm excited to share our progress. This investment will deliver a modern, accessible, and welcoming space featuring new council chambers. I'd also like to recognize that the construction process has caused a lot of inconvenience, and I sincerely apologize and thank you for your patience. I want to acknowledge our town staff, all of you who are listening to the hammers and walking around walls and going outside and having lunch in meeting rooms. And thank you for your continuance and excellent service despite these challenges. So we look forward to welcoming members of our community soon in our new town hall. Any other members of council have greetings this evening? Councilor McGuire Blaze, and then I'll go to Councilor Guerin.
Thanks for the chair. I just wanted to let everybody know that some great news is happening with the BIA. They are nominated for an award with the OBIA, OBIAA, so it's BIA's Ontario BIA Association. The Essex BIA started a collaboration with the municipalities around us, their BIAs, which was so they all collaborate during Small Business Week and they promote each other. And it's something that no other BIA in Ontario has done before. And so it's a really big thing where you're seeing collaborations because usually it's competition. And this Essex County has decided they're not going to compete. We're going to help boost each other up. So the Essex BIA is nominated for their efforts to receive an award for this. So I want to congratulate them on thinking outside of the box on getting out there and marketing our small businesses for us and being recognized on the Ontario level, the provincial level for doing that. So really good job for them. Also want to acknowledge our Santa's Village was nominated for best Christmas event or seasonal event for an award. So they go next week to see if they won that. But just being nominated is outstanding for them. This is their 4th year, going on their 5th. So that's really great that after 4 years, they're being recognized as being one of the best Christmas events in the county. So really good job to that committee as well. I wanted to say that Wetra is hosting their 50-50 raffle to help replace their roofs. I think that's what Mayor, or no, you were talking about the one on Arner Town Line. Everybody needs a new roof. So Wetra and the Canadian Transportation Museum both need new roofs, but Wetra is hosting a 50-50 raffle to try to replace their roof. So if you're interested in a 50-50 raffle, please visit their website. You can just purchase those online. And then I attended the Windsor Essex Chamber of Commerce 150th birthday on behalf of the Essex BIA 2 weeks ago, and it was a really great event. The chair of the BIA and a member of the BIA attended as well. It was a really good event to see how other businesses communicate, how other BIAs function, and getting to know them and bringing those resources into Essex. So a lot of fun things happening within the BIA, and it was something really exciting, and I was glad to have the opportunity to do that.
Councilor Guerin?
Through the chair, yeah, I just want to remind everybody, I know it seems like a long way away, 3 months from now, the Essex Fun Fest, but for our committee, it's not that far away. Lots of hard work going on behind the scenes, and the committee has lots of exciting things new and revamped for the Fun Fest. If you want to check out the new website, same domain, essexfunfest.com. Lots of cool things on there. Also want to give a shout out to our local junior C team, the Essex 73s. They had an unfortunate end to their season last Thursday night. Lakeshore beat them in Game 7 of the league finals. But despite all that, 73s had a great year. I mean, they finished first out of 61 teams and continue to provide great entertainment for our community. Also want to remind anyone that hasn't heard yet, the 73s fundraisers coming up this Saturday night. It's the second annual Big Texas Country Hoedown. Still tickets available for that. Last year sold out, but we do have some tickets available either through me or through essex73s.ca.
Harrow Legion sponsors the Roscoe Hockey Tournament this weekend. It's an annual event held at the Harrow and Coach South Community Center. We have the Windsor Essex Jane Walk Festival held on April 24th, 26th in Harrow and Essex streets respectively. Town of Essex annual spring cleanup will be on May 2nd for all wards for anybody who hasn't been able to participate And the most recent ones, the annual one will be on the 2nd, and please, if you have time, come and join us. Downtown Essex Tea Party, hosted by the ACT Committee, will be May 2nd as well at the Essex Community Sports Complex this year, not at the train station, due to room constraints. And the Horkey Memorial Shootout Fishing Tournament will be held again this year, May 8th at Colchester Harbor. It's a big money tournament, so if you're a big money fisherman, you'll want to attend this one. Thank you.
Hammond. Boy, seasons are changing and spring is here. All right, bylaws requiring a third and final reading. We have bylaw 2515 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the March 16th regular council meeting to be read a third time and finally passed on April 7th. Moved by Councillor Allard, Councillor Verbeek. Any questions? All in favor? That's carried. So we have bylaw 2523 being a bylaw to establish a subsidy program in the town of Essex, and this just wraps up the work we did recently there to be read a first, second, third time, finally passed on April 7th. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Mady. I'm wondering if there's something we can do to get some social media posts out about our subsidy. And yeah, it's really good work. A lot of work went out there, and now that we don't have to get 2 quotes, we could say like, you don't have to get any quotes. Get it now before we put the quotes back. Okay. Any questions? All in favor? And that's carried. Bylaws requiring a first and second reading, being a bylaw to confirm the street names of Sunset and Dubas, or yeah, it's just an extension of the existing subdivision. So bylaw 2519, moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor McGuire Blaze. Any questions? All in favor? It's carried unanimously. Bylaw 2520 being a bylaw to name Street A in Colchester Heights, residential subdivision, Ross Crescent. And I think it's the only street in the subdivision. I think it does a U. And it is named after a veteran as per our policy. It's just, they did pick a nice, I like this name. It's a nice, simple name. To be read a first, second, and provisionally adopted April 7th. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Mady. Any questions? Councillor Mady. Okay. Any questions? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Bylaw 2521 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a lease agreement between the Corporation of the Town of Essex and Jetwave Inc. for berth space at Colchester Harbor located at 100 Jackson Street, Ontario. And that bylaw 2521 be read a first, a second time, and provisionally adopted on April 7th. We do have the proponents, I believe, in the audience tonight. We do have administration as well. So it will be up to council. We can actually hear from our administration. We can hear from the proponents. It's up to you, council. I'm looking for you for direction. Oh, I'm going to go to Director Malandrucolo to explain how we can do the readings.
Chair, I did just want to make it clear to council that we're only looking for 2 readings today, which would mean that nothing is passed. It's just a provisional adoption. And then council has 2 weeks to then go out and get information from the public. Because if council does pass 2 readings today, what it means is that the third reading on April 20th would pass by a simple majority vote, because in order to pass 2 readings today, you would need 60% of council. So you'd need a special majority. That would be your qualification for your special majority, and only a simple majority would pass it on April 20th. If council wanted to reduce it to 1 reading, then you would need a special majority on April 20th to pass it, just making council aware of that. But regardless, nothing would be finally passed today. It's just a provisional adoption.
All right, members of council, sorry. You're always the go-to person. Okay. The deputy mayor has declared conflict. So Councilor McGuire Blaze.
Chair, I'm just wondering, leasing this space, I'm unfamiliar with, I don't have a boat. I don't go to the marina. Does this space normally have boats in it, and will it take away space for our like ticketed boats, the people who are used to docking there every year?
Through the mayor, so there is nobody currently in this space. It is a little bit of a tricky spot because it's so close to the pier on the north side of D-Dock. So what happens in that area is it's more so the houseboats were there in the past, because they don't move very much. And the benefit of the jet skis being in this spot specifically is number one, it's close to the entry area. So the people that are going on the jet skis or doing the rentals don't have to go all the way down to the dock, passing all kinds of other flip holders. So it's right there. It's also within the sight lines of the 10 by 10 tent that's also required. So close supervision. And jet skis are also very shallow. They don't draft a lot. So we don't have much dredging that goes on in this area. And there's a lot of, if there's not movement, it tends to get grown with seaweed. So boats have a harder time moving out. So one of the other benefits is that when there's more water movement, you don't get as much seaweed growing in the area. So seeing more movement of the jet skis in that area should also decrease seaweed. That would we would expect. So there is not an it's not taking away from anybody that would have been there.
Go to Councillor Verbeek.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I don't know if right now is the appropriate time or when the appropriate time is. I'd like to make a motion that we only read this one time tonight. I don't think we need to read it two times and give it a provisionally pass yet. There's a few questions that I think I have coming out of a long weekend, this holiday weekend. Just getting the report on Thursday, I wasn't really able to connect with too many of the constituents on this. So I'd like to have a little more time for that. I also don't think that a lot of our constituents were looking at our agenda on a long weekend. I'd like to give them a little more time to be able to respond to this. So when the appropriate time, I'd like to make that motion.
Noted. That I will come back to you for the motion for one reading. Councillor Verbeek.
The lease agreement, is it the same docking fees as, say, just a regular houseboat wanted to use the?
Through the mayor, so the docking fees are quite a bit higher than they would be because of the commercial business and the ability to make money off of it. So a typical rental for a non-commercial operation would be about $1,700, and this lease rate would be $3,000, which also includes space for the 10 by 10 tent, which would be on land. So they're looking at 35 linear feet on the dock, which that fee is also included in the $3,000.
Okay, so I think thank you. Okay, follow-up is just the season. I guess can I ask the proponents? Like, I'm wondering if we went ahead with this, what would the season be? Are we talking the beginning of June, the end of just July and August? How long would the season run?
Through the mayor. So the proponents are here. If council wants to make a motion to speak with them, they can do that. But the agreement that we would negotiated was the harbor season, which goes from May 1st every year until Thanksgiving Monday. So that was the operational timeline. They would have the ability to operate at all times within our harbor operating season.
Have the proponents here. I think it would be a good idea since you are here. If you, okay, yes, if you could. Okay, so if you want to go stand back where the delegation podium is and introduce yourselves, and I'll get Councillor Guerin to speak while you're moving. Councillor Guerin.
For admin, other municipalities at common, do we have other municipalities neighboring or other that typically would rent jet skis or that type of a service?
Through the mayor, I can't say if there's commercial businesses that do this, but we do allow our harbor to launch jet skis. If somebody just pulled one up, they can pay the ramp fee and they would be able to launch. But in terms of local municipalities, I can get that information if council is looking for that. But to my knowledge, I'm not sure of a local municipality that would do commercial operations like this. But we would see it in, we have seen major cities, like an example is Halifax. I know I saw rentals there. So it is something that does happen at local marina areas.
For that. And so on every day, any day basis, 5, 6, 7, 8 can show up every day and they can legally park there and pay to park there.
That's correct. They would be able to launch on the ramp, or they could even rent a slip from us if there was availability.
Want me to go to the proponents, or did you want to lay your questions out now? Yeah, go ahead.
You, Mayor. Gentlemen, thank you for coming this evening. I'm curious, I know a boat operator needs a license and stuff like that. Are we required to have a license similar for operating a jet ski?
Be required to have a license, and everybody operating the jet ski would have to have a temporary boating license that will be provided.
So you're on the hook for that. Okay. You're okay with the times of operation? Because I realize that a couple of those months are not really feasible for jet ski rentals or anything like that. Having said that, I guess you really don't have much choice. How many jet skis were you planning on having?
He's, yeah, one of them has to stay always at the dock.
All right. Thank you for your answers. And that brings me up to another point that I'm going to address with administration with where your station is proposed right now. You don't really have a good, clear eyesight to your boats when they're out on the water, would you? Would not. Over the break wall.
So
where you're at. So what I'm saying is, as far back as you are from the break wall, you're going to be prohibited from seeing your jet skis out on the water. That brings me up to the location of the jet skis and where they're at on Dock C. Their location there will eliminate any possibility of transient boats that might show up on the occasion. A location that I would prefer would be on Dock C, the south side of it, because it doesn't have the water capability to facilitate a boat and to get in and out. It's more tuned for jet skis there, and their tents or whatever that they're gonna have there would better serve between docks B and C, closer to the end of the harbor. That was just my suggestions for administration regarding the location of.
Hold that thought for one moment. Does anybody from administration have a map of the docks that they can put up so that we could see? Can somebody put the map up, please, so that we can see what Councillor Hammond is referring to? Okay, it would be helpful to have Director Morsuit.
The mayor, I can respond to that while we're searching for the image. So the further out, if we were to put a leaseholder, there's less monitoring ability for our staff. So that's why DDoC was selected. It's close to where a camera is also pointing on that area. So if there was an issue, we'd be able to see it. And our staff at the kiosk has close proximity to them. So we'd be able to see the activity that's going on the boat. If we put them at sea, yes, agreed, it's further away, but we would have less staff monitoring to be able to address anybody that was out there.
What do you foresee them having to observe?
Through the mayor. So for instance, with the houseboats, people were jumping off the houseboats into the water. They're not your regular members. They're people that are coming and going frequently. So we want to make sure that our harbor staff has oversight to make sure that people are acting properly and they're not jumping in the water. They're not going swimming. They're not the typical renters of the boats that would have a key swab or key fob to go out and access. So there's a little bit more risk with not knowing the people that are going out there. And that's one of the other things that we wanted to make sure is anybody that's going out there, they have to be on site while anybody is going near the jet skis. So there's supervision on multiple stages, and that's the rationale.
So I would think that whatever supervision needs to be adhered to would be done by the proponent rather than our staff having to look after that, as well as camera. We have camera over the entire harbor, do we not?
Through the mayor, there is not cameras throughout the entire harbor. You can't see everything. You can see certain areas, but it doesn't necessarily cover close proximity, like zoomed up versions of everything. And similar to any facility that we have, if we have people that are going to the arenas, well, we have a user group that's in charge of monitoring everybody, but we still have staff that oversees everything just to make sure that they're following the regulations that we have. While we certainly have trust in the proponents, or we wouldn't be bringing this forward to council, we still want to make sure that our staff is overseeing and making sure that they're following the things that we need them to follow.
Lastly, how many transient slips do we have?
Through the mayor, I don't know an exact number, but I know our revenues have significantly decreased over the past few years for transient boaters. We used to see them coming and going very frequently. I can certainly get that number for you for the next meeting on what those revenues would look like, but I do know it's very, very limited compared to what it used to be.
Good conversation. So Councillor Hammond, if I'm just looking at the screen, the top corner between the two, it looks like boats there, that's where they would go, and you're proposing another location? Okay.
See that little narrow?
Yep. Okay. Director Morrisseau?
The mayor, we can certainly look at that, but I do know CDOC is full. I think it's at capacity with leaseholders that rent on a continuing basis. So that would mean having to relocate some of them. I can verify that information, but also that area was dredged last year to make sure that the boats were able to fit.
Nobody on south side.
Oh, you're saying on the south side of that? We can potentially look at that. But again, it would take, if we were to do that, we can come back to council with that if that's council's direction. But again, it would take away from the supervision capabilities of what our staff would be able to do.
Okay, thank you. That might put them in a better position to disturb less boaters and give them a better vantage point from the end of the dock, though. Like there's pros and cons of all of it, and it may not be a spot that other boats can go. Any questions? Councilor Verbeek.
Madam Mayor, thank you guys for coming and thank you for bringing this forward. I will say I spend a lot of time at the harbor with my grandchildren, and I also spend a lot of time at a different marina as a boater. And I think some of the questions you would have from people renting slips would be concerns about that we heard with the houseboats hanging out on the docks and such. But I'm looking at this setup and in my mind, and I hope you can clarify, I'm imagining you're going to have to do the prep, secure the boating license and the ID, get the safety vests and such are going to be down on that 10 by 10 tent. And most of the access to the docks and, being near other boats is going to be getting back and forth to the jet skis themselves, as opposed to, say, like when we did this once with houseboats, there were people hanging out on the docks and disturbing other people's boats. I'm imagining there's not a lot of opportunity if most of this is done on the beach and just access to the jet skis. Is that part of your plan? How would that go?
Great question. We did read before about different businesses or operations, and there was a problem of disturbance. We love how Colchester is kind of a homey town, which is we're saying like technology is great. So whatever is there of a problem, like we don't accept walk-ins. Everything is on reservations. Everything is through our website. Driver's licenses get uploaded there. All the boating license, the temporary boating license gets already done throughout the website. So everything will be done online. Customers will come in, we'll just have them get familiar with like the equipment, put their vests on, do a quick tutorial of what's gonna happen, how to run the jet ski, and off they go. Estimated time for that, no more than 5 minutes. And that's our goal, to get it lower and lower.
Okay, sorry. And I heard you mention you will have 4 jet skis. One will remain on the dock all the time. Am I to assume that it's because you're going to have someone trained to take that 4th one out if someone runs out of gas or needs assistance out on the lake? Thank you. See, yeah, okay. And so my last question is hours of operation. Do you, like, what would your hours, you're not going to send them out after dark, right?
Like jet skis can't really go without certain lights on them past dark time. So our plan is nobody will go out or everything will be back by 8 o'clock. And we're not going to start renting anything out except after 10 a.m. And that's at like the earliest.
I love that. The later in the morning. And I think that's it. Is this your first business venture?
Venture, yeah.
Well, good luck. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks a lot.
Councillor Mady, any other council members wishing to speak? Okay, Councillor Mady.
You and through you, Chair. Just that we're treating everybody like, my concern would be the enforcement of like the speed and stuff like that. Are you guys planning on marking your jet skis in some way so we could like easily identify them? Or are they just going to be like look like just a regular jet ski out there?
On them that says what jet wave on it, so you can easily that jet ski is there. Also, each jet ski will have an air like some sort of like an air tag on it, so we can know at all times where that jet ski is. Walkie-talkies on the jet skis as well. So we'll always have more than one way of communication with whoever's riding that jet ski.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, then to administration. If the jet ski is caught speeding inside the marina, what would our steps be?
So the steps would be that we would have to first identify that there was a problem. So that's why cameras would be important, so that we can view that. We'd have to get a report from either somebody or the staff would have to notice it. Then we would investigate the situation. And if we are seeing violations, then the agreement does allow us to get out of the agreement based on them not performing to our expectations in the lease agreement.
Is there any thresholds talked about? Like, if we catch somebody speeding 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, because there'll be different people operating those jet skis every single time, right? That person will, only make the mistake once, but are we going to hold these guys on the hook for every time that somebody breaks that rule?
So ultimately, they are responsible for the actions that happen within the harbor. So there's no specific thresholds. We would have to investigate it by an incident by incident. So if it's a minor situation, then we would obviously address that. But we're going to deal with a minor situation much different from a major situation. So it's really context related. And if the complaints keep coming in, then that's why the agreement was written as it is, so that we have the ability to get out of the agreement.
Just because it's in such close proximity to our beach, Is there any thought given to delineating our beach better, maybe putting up some buoys or something, just in case they decide that they want to go over and beach on the beach themselves?
So the first part of that is that it's in the agreement that that the beach is not permitted to be used. They have to maintain 200 meters separation from the beach. So we did in the past have the buoys, but the cable got knocked off, so that's why they haven't been up. So we are looking to rectify that so that it is identified in that area again. But in terms of the training for that, part of their training that we had talked about would have to include the distances from the beach and showing them that they're not permitted to go in that area.
It's you again, Chair. Yeah, that's so, like when we're classifying major versus minor, a lot of times when I'm in safety talks, near misses are actually like classified as more important than the actual incidences because, so like if somebody violated that 200 meters, went in 150 meters, but there was nobody out that day, are we classifying that as minor or major at that point? And then how many times would they be allowed to violate that before action would be taking place?
Again, it's hard. There's thousands of different infractions that they could have. For us to list out every single infraction that they might have is very difficult. So again, like I said, it would have to be a case by case basis where we feel that the things that they're doing are not in compliance. Are they harmful to other people? Are they harmful to themselves? Are they causing issues to our docks or infrastructure? Are they causing damage to other infrastructure like coastlines? So all of these things have to be taken into consideration. It would be impossible for me to give a specific example and say, no, this you're out and this you're not. Like it really comes down, and there's really no difference between this and anybody else that would launch on any daily basis. So the same thing could happen with any leaseholder that we would address. We don't have specific parameters. The STRUs that are there are very heavily regulated, but there's a specific bylaw for that because of the scope that STRUs have throughout the entire municipality. So that applies to everybody there. So we do have the guidelines. So not only are they responsible for following the guidelines in the bylaw, they're also responsible for following the guidelines within the terms and conditions of the harbor.
We have Councillor Guerin, but Councillor Aller did have his hand up, but I think your question got scooped by your councilmate in Ward 3. Okay, Councillor Guerin.
Thanks, Mayor. Jake, thanks for jumping in at the end there and explaining that what these guys are doing is like, we have other boaters that come in that may not be the slip runners. Everyone in that harbor has to abide by whatever the rules are that are set forth. I have total faith in our administration, Jake's department. You've done your due diligence. I think the proponents have done their due diligence. I'm sure this has been a back and forth as to what they need to comply with. Do we like the idea of it? I love the idea. I'm glad you guys thought of Essex to bring a new opportunity out there for other beachgoers. Some people like to go to the beach for various reasons. Some like to go down there and play volleyball. Some like to go and swim. Now people might like to enjoy taking out some sea-doos for some fun too. I think if it's all regulated, I wish these guys all the best. I'm as supportive of it, whether it's one reading night or 5 readings night, I don't care.
Guerin, I would love to get more public consultation. I'm glad that we can break it up in different readings. I'm wondering if administration knows if the community center in Colchester would be available for a community meeting with some of the voters. I'd like to actually hear from some of the voters. I'm going to put my, our council email out there so people can email us. But I don't know if so I'll ask the CEO, is that possible for members of council to use the Colchester Community Center to hear from residents down in that area rather than just, hearing about in the newspaper? Like if we could hear from them, I'm thinking Sunday, April 19th at 1 o'clock, if the Colchester Community Center is free.
If it's available at that, but I can get back to council on the potential.
Since it would be coming back on Monday, the 20th, that gives us a week and a half to get it out there, and then we can meet. And I know it's only renting jet skis. I understand that it's only renting jet skis, and many people can't afford to buy jet skis and own their own jet skis. So I think it's a really visionary project that I want to support. But Colchester is pretty feisty and territorial. So I want to make sure that I'm doing my diligence and listening to residents and, and maybe if yourselves want to come, you'd be welcome to come as well. So we'll look and see if that date is open and maybe the ward reps and myself want to host a meeting and invite the boaters that are there to come talk to us about this and maybe other issues. Councillor Hammond.
Guys, you're not gonna get, all your customers aren't gonna be very, what safeguards do you have from someone taking a jet ski and just blowing off with it? Say they decide to go to Pelee Island that day.
They can go wherever they want, as long as they follow the regulations, whether like they don't have to be close to a certain distance off of a beach. However, we have them monitored at all time. So wherever they will go, we will have them monitored. Also, I'd like to add, I'm an electromechanical engineer, so we did add a kill switch on our jet skis. So whenever somebody is getting past or like closer to the 200 meters, we can warn them in a walkie-talkie, and then we can just kill the jet ski, and that will be that. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Mayor, through you, so when administration first started talking about this and brought the concept to us, I had a whole list of like reasons why I don't even care. I don't want to hear it. I'm opposed to this. This isn't coming to our beach. And I'm completely the opposite. I have completely flipped. So many of the things, these are unknowns until we at least try this for a year. Our administration has put in great safeguards to pull the plug if it isn't operating safely or by the lease agreement that they've set out. I'm a little I don't know who would possibly attend this public consultation except for people that are wanting to oppose it and are willing to just try it out. This could, I mean, I see this as a real positive and an opportunity. And I think that our administration has done a really good job to, cover all the bases. And if it does turn out that it's unsafe or unsavory to the residents, then we don't do it a second year. We don't agree to it a second year. And they've also put in, if there's safety issues, that they can pull the plug. So, and I think that anybody that would come out to a public consultation isn't going to come out to say they support it. They're going to have all kinds of reasons like I did 2 weeks ago because it was unknown to me.
To the chair, the idea of, we have swimmers that come out there scuba diving. We have to coincide with what their activities are as well. Is there a consideration with that?
Through the mayor. So anytime there's divers that are diving actively, they're supposed to be flagged so that boaters can identify them. So there is a radius that you're not supposed to enter within when you see that flag. So that is common practice.
I do know boaters have been looking to meet with myself and other members of council for a while, just to chat. And so, for example, this weekend, cleaning up on Dunn Road, the whole side of Dunn Road was fish guts. People were throwing out fish guts. So I want to hear feedback. Is there another solution? So this public consultation meeting will not be just one issue. It'll be talking about lots of issues, keeping the beach clean. What are the other things that we can do? Where can you properly dispose of your fish guts so that there's not buckets of stinky fish guts on the side of the road? So I have sent an email. I have sent the green box. We'll get some green boxes down there. I sent an email to administration to see if that facility is open on that date at that time. If it isn't, it might not be. If it isn't, maybe we can look at the Grove or something, or the Rec or the Bar and Grill. So I'll work with the Ward 3 councillors for that. So right now, Councillor Mady did say that he is looking for to make a motion that we read it the first time, and then I'll do whatever public consultation we wish and meet back here in 2 weeks to discuss. Councillor Mady, you wish to make a motion that we read the bylaw a first time? Councillor Verbeek?
Director Malandrucolo can clarify us. So we can do consultation whether we do 1 or 2 readings tonight, correct? In between. Either way, then we come back to vote. What I'd like clarified is if we do 1 reading tonight, how many votes will it take to pass? And if we do 2 readings, how many votes it will take to pass?
Question. So through the chair, if we want to do anytime we want to do more than 1 reading at a meeting, we need 2/3 of council, so 66.6% of council members. So with Deputy Mayor Shepley declaring a conflict, you would need 5 of the 7 people on council to vote in favor of a 2 reading bylaw. If it's just 1 reading, you would need 4 of the 7 because you would just need a simple majority. Now, if you do just 1 reading at this meeting, it doesn't stop council from recommending at the next meeting that you do the final 2 readings. You could do 2 and 3 at the next meeting. So if over the next 2 weeks, we gauge council's interest and council is ready to finally pass it on the 20th, we could then come for the 2 reading bylaw on the 20th. Or you could instead go for another 1 reading bylaw on the 20th, and then in the May 5th meeting, go for the 3rd reading. That way it would all be passed by only a simple majority instead of a special majority.
We all understand. Director Morrisseau.
Mayor Bondi, and through you, Councillor Hammond asked about the revenues over the past few years. So I was able to pull those numbers. It was $3,900 in 2023, $3,600 in 2024, and last year was $2,300. So we've been seeing a trickle down for the past few years.
For the new term of council, we should get an overall financial snapshot of the harbor in terms of revenues and expenses and what it's actually costing us each year to operate. That's my rant. Okay, we do have Councillor Mady making the motion for 1 reading, supported by Councillor Allard. Okay, all in favor of supporting 1 reading tonight? Okay, got it. Opposed? 1. Councillor Guerin. Okay, so that is carried. Okay, first hurdle. Now we're going to go to public consultation. I think Director Morrisseau, you said the community center is booked that day. Okay, so we'll pivot. We'll find somewhere. All right. That's it. All right. Motion at this point. We have some upcoming meetings coming up. Oh, we did that. Oh, sorry. Being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the April 7th regular council meeting be read first, second, third time provisionally adopted on April 7th. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley. He's back. supported by Councillor McGuire-Blaze. All in favor? That's carried. And we have some upcoming meetings. Check it out and have a good evening. Bye. Motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor Allard, all in favor. Bye.